All right, I think we're live, and maybe you can hear us. So we'll go ahead and dispense with the theme song. Sorry about the technical issues. I'm happy to be here. It's 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. And joining me today is the Reynoldsburg City School District Director of Human Resources, Jamie Wilson. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very appreciative and excited to be here.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I have a lot of information to go over, so we'll kind of just jump right into it. Obviously February is Black History Month. So what is the district doing for Black History Month? Are there any kind of activities, programs, things like that are going on that are a little bit bigger than like just what's going on in an individual classroom?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. We highlight all of the contributions and achievements that African Americans have had in the U.S. Obviously, it's important to us for students to feel represented in everything that we do and all the curriculum opportunities that they have. But we do some special things during Black History Month to really highlight and celebrate the achievements of African Americans. There are different events happening. What I like is that we allow students to have voice and show how excited they are about different things in different ways. So you might have poetry jams, written word, written expression, essay contests. I know there are trivias and challenges where students might get incentives or rewarded for knowing different facts about Black history. There's different events. Actually, Hannah Ashton Middle School is having an orchestra concert that I'm going to try to get to. Okay. I know that also French Run is doing a wax museum, which is going to be pretty interesting, and I just can't wait to get to see what they are going to be doing at the wax museum. So just really having a good time doing it and really enjoying and celebrating Black history during this month.
Well, that's good. It's always good to do that. I know when I was teaching, you highlight a lot of things. I taught throughout the year, but you highlight things during this particular month. So it's good to hear that. Now, you mentioned Hannah Ashton, so you used to be the administrator. Now you're the Director of Human Resources. So for everybody watching, what exactly does that mean that you have to do?
Yeah, so basically human capitalist or human resource, anything human. So I look at really helping to support development, bringing in our teachers, our educators, our support staff, hiring, recruiting, retaining systems that create high qualified staff members and systems that are able to retain. That's really important to us, especially right now. Keeping our staff knowledgeable about different areas in the workforce, not necessarily always teachers and always teaching, but things that support our students, such as our transportation, custodial staff. They're just as important as educators. So sometimes a lot of people in community think about our teachers, but we also need to retain high qualified staff. So that's a huge part that our team is working on right now. Anything within our strategic initiatives that deal with human resources, I'm responsible for. A lot of people say, there is the hiring and firing. Yes, that is part of my job, but we really want to concentrate on the positive part of that, which is the development.
Well, I know that when I was teaching, usually the building secretaries were the smartest people in the building. And the janitors know where all the bodies are buried. So I was always good friends with both of them, and just throwing that out there for anybody who might be watching. So it's got to be, especially now, is this the busiest time of the year you have, or are we just on the outside edge of the busiest time of the year?
We are crawling into the busiest time for human resources, and actually we're going to start with our big annual, last year was our first time doing a virtual annual job fair. It's going to be March 24th from 4:30 to 6:30, and that's going to kick off our really busy year. So anywhere from March till September, we're very much busy trying to recruit, rehire, retain, make sure contracts are correct, and that's every staff member in the district. So that definitely, the summertime when most of our staff are at home and enjoying their vacation time, is really when our season kicks into gear and that we're really busy.
I know there's always something when you're looking for it. Certain positions in education are easier to find than others. Apparently social studies was never a hard position to fill, but your chemistries, your biologies, your special education positions, those always tended to be the ones that were harder to fill. I fingers crossed on how this is going to go. We've seen a lot of turnover. We've seen a lot of people leaving the profession. The articles are out there. Even fewer people are participating at the college level, so that's going to be an impact of things. But the reality is, without teachers, it's it's a really hard thing to kind of get through. So happy that you're doing that. That's going to be a really cool kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that kind of progresses.
Yeah, we are definitely working to help the teacher shortage. Trying to get grants and develop a grow your own from within our district so that we can tap into some talented individuals with our classified staff and our parapros who are interested in potentially becoming teachers. That's important to us that we keep our own, and it's important that we support them in trying to get their licensure, which is also sometimes a barrier when we're trying to hire. There are different licensures that you have to have in order to be in certain positions, and so that sometimes is very difficult when we're looking at great people. So we want to be able to support our staff in trying to get into those positions, and that helps to support the teacher shortage right now.
Well, I know one of the things that we're looking to partner with the district is our new diversity, equity, and inclusion official. We haven't figured out what the exact term is going to be, but we know it's the DEI official that's going to be there. So I know what they're going to do for us specifically is going to be looking at improving our hiring to diversify our workforce. A lot of it has been, honestly, our police department has been the prime example of making our police department look like our community. And so now we want to make sure that we're doing the same thing with other city staff as well. And then also with our contractors, people that we're making deals with to fix roads or build building, whatever the case may be, that we're making sure that female and minority grants are open or positions are open so that way they can get those job classifications. On your side of things, it's going to be kind of similar but kind of different because it's going to be, I mean, have you guys had those kind of conversations? I know you just got the documents, I think, like a week ago, and so I didn't know if you've had much conversation to figure that out.
We actually have. First, I'd like to say that this is a great opportunity for us to share a position so that we can have some alignment, what the school is doing for equity and inclusion and what also the city is doing. The alignment needs to happen for us to be able to reach our goals. And so we've talked about what this position looks like, and the role of the DEI will be to look at our policies, to make sure that our policies are equitable and that we are having difficult conversations, that we are looking at our curriculums, and any lens of the DEI, anything that we're doing systematically, that our language, our practices are aligned and equitable. And that'll be a huge part of what we look for in the shared position. I think it's going to develop as we move forward. We're excited to see what opportunities there are with this position between the city and the school system. And so I do think there's a lot of potential that we probably yet haven't discussed and panned out yet, but we really are looking to make sure that we get the right person in the seat for both the city and for the school.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a perfect partnership, and either way, they don't have very far to go between the two buildings. Right. So looking forward to that. Now, you are a former administrator, so I just want to kind of ask a couple of questions. What makes Reynoldsburg students special? I mean, you've been there, you were a student in Reynoldsburg and all. So what exactly makes Reynoldsburg students special?
I have a bias to Reynoldsburg. Obviously, I'm an alum, and so I just think that we have the best. But really, I have been in other districts and taught in other districts, and what makes it special here is that we really work to make students feel welcomed and accepted, and that they can be who they are. We have a community that's supportive of that. We have a mayor that's supportive of that. We have a school board that's supportive of that. And I think that that's special. That makes it special here. Our language and everything that we do is inclusive. We celebrate differences and diversity. And that's not always happening from top down in every school district. And I do think that's what makes Reynoldsburg unique. I think it's a reason why a lot of people stay to continue educating and supporting our students. And that's why I stay personally and came back here as an alum.
Well, I kind of told the story at the State of the City the other week that when my son was a senior just last year, he and a number of students were just kind of gathered around, and they were talking about their college visits, and they were going to College A, College B, College C. And one of the students just looked around and said, I went to this school, and it was a good school, academically, all of that stuff. She said there was no diversity there. And she said she is so used to diversity in Reynoldsburg that she was so disappointed that in a majority of the schools that she went to didn't have that, and she was looking for that. And that for me, that says a lot of things about, that next generation that's coming up. And, anytime that there's issues or struggles when it comes to race in our society, I look at that example as that's what it should be. That's what it needs to be. And what better example of that is than right here in Reynoldsburg. So just a fun story. I enjoy sharing that one. So any questions that we have out there?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, you're lucking out so far.
Oh, man.
Could you mind if you have enough time, if you could stick around just for a little while? I'm going to talk about some other things. I know I do have one question that was submitted by a reader, and it's not a very difficult one.
Sure.
This is from Martha, and Martha is asking. She is a retired teacher from Colorado, and they moved to Reynoldsburg in June. They really want to volunteer in some kind of capacity in an elementary school. She filled out a volunteer form, but maybe didn't hear back. She just wanted to know what the actual process is for, she wants to volunteer in the classroom for any particular purpose. I don't know if this is something like parapro related or if this is something like, just coming in to be, a support system for somebody in the building.
Sure. She could always start with emailing the principal if she'd like to do that. I will say that COVID has really, at first, in the first part of the year, depending on when she filled out the form, we weren't accepting volunteers in our building at that time. Our numbers were high, and we were just very limited on who could come into the buildings. We are just now opening that up for volunteers, and so I would encourage her to try again.
Okay.
Maybe fill out the form again, or look for our schools on our reyn.org site. And look at a school, email a secretary. As you said, they know all the things.
Yes,
That's probably
do.
going to be the best person to reach out to. CC your principal, but really the secretaries are going to be able to point her in the right direction and probably get her in the schools the quickest.
Okay. Well, I will make sure. Hopefully, Martha, you're watching, and that helps. If not, we'll make sure and shoot that email out there. No, that's great. I think anytime somebody wants to kind of participate in that's always good. Being a high school teacher, I always found it nice and refreshing, but also really awkward when I would go into elementary schools because it's just two completely different worlds. And teachers teach the subject area or the grade level that they feel most comfortable with. Like, I don't know how elementary school teachers do it, but they've also said to me, I don't know how high school teachers do it.
Exactly.
So we all have our specialties, but now when they go through, they have to get their fingerprints and they have to get all of that stuff taken care of as well, I would assume.
Yep, that's correct, especially if they want to do it on a continual basis.
Okay. All right.
Joe, I did get a question come in.
Okay.
It says, how much information is the district able to disclose to families when a teacher is out of the classroom for an extended leave of absence or is placed on administrative leave? Is there a requirement to notify families that there may be a change or disruption in their learning until the teacher returns?
So we can't share personnel information in terms of what a teacher's out for. If there is a teacher out for long term, potentially a surgery or maternity leave or something of that nature, we try to get a long-term sub, and the long-term sub usually sends some sort of communication, a letter of hi, my name is. Our principal might do that as well.
Okay. Sometimes it's hard because you never know, and especially I think even going back to pre-COVID times, finding substitutes or long-term substitutes was not an easy thing in general, even at that point in time, let alone now. I know it's even more difficult.
It is. We're constantly having job fairs for substitute teachers, and there's a teacher shortage, and there's definitely a substitute shortage. But I will encourage that person to contact their principal if they're having some questions about who's in the classroom and what's going on, and the principal should be able to answer more of those questions.
Yeah.
Perfect, that's it.
All right. So we've got a couple of other things. So as we all know, and this is not this inconsequential for you, so you're kind of on a different side of the house. Obviously there was an incident at the Livingston campus last week, and from the city's perspective, a couple of things happened that that we kind of jumped in to get to help out. The first thing is obviously there was an altercation in the school, and one of our resource officers was involved. And so we made sure that they were safe. And our primary responsibility from the city's point of view with RPD is to make sure the students and staff are safe. And we want them as safe as possible, as fast as possible. So while everyone jumped out and had, they knew what was going on because they saw it with their very own eyes, and all of these other stories that were going on about what was there, how it happened, what went down, all of that, I would say 98.9% of it was not accurate. We even had some students that said that they made the stuff up just because they wanted to see how far it would go. And I get that. We've all, we've heard the telephone game in the past where you say something and then the story goes, and then before you know, you have like a pink elephant at the end or something like that. The problem with that is it created a lot of panic. And that's one of those things. So we did a debrief earlier this morning between representatives from the city and the school district to say, what worked well, what didn't work well, how can we improve, things like that. So we're always working to improve it. But everybody agrees the primary responsibility is to get everybody as safe and secure as possible, as fast as possible. And honestly, that's what happened. I taught for a number of years. I have seen a number of fights, and I saw the video for this one. I looked at the body cam. I saw all of the fun things and everything like that. And this is not new. High schools have had fights for a long time. This was not the first fight. This will not be the last fight. There have been fights when I was in school, when my parents were in school, and my grandparents were in school. The difference with this one is it's social media. So that's one of those things when we talk about responsibility. That doesn't mean that you don't talk to our administrators and our teachers and say, hey, what can we do? How can we improve things? Obviously, that's exactly what we want. We want that encouragement. But just wanted to put that out there, especially when those rumors come out, if there's, a firearm involved or if there's some sort of really violent act, we're going to be right out there with it, standing arm in arm with the school district, and we're going to make sure that we protect our students. So that's my comment on that one. Just wanted to pass that along to everybody. Something slightly more fun is we do have our food drive this weekend here at City Hall with the Lions Club. It's going to be supporting Heart Food Pantry, so it's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is a drive-through drop-off, so you can go ahead and do that. Just kind of reading a couple of things in here. It's the Lions Club, Reynoldsburg Lions Club, the City of Reynoldsburg, and the schools, as well as Impact Church. Real big needs this time around: canned meats like chicken and tuna, rice, shelf-stable milk, cereal and crackers. And the other thing that always kind of jumps out that surprises people is, toiletries, toilet paper, laundry, dish soap, some of those things that might not necessarily think, when you think of a food drive, you're not necessarily thinking, cleaning supplies and things like that, but those are also important. So hopefully you can be a part of it. Shout out to the Lions Club and April Darling for going ahead and pushing this one through. So hope to see you between 10 and 1 this Saturday. I was a participant last week in the next class of the Citizen Police Academy in Reynoldsburg, which is always an entertaining thing. This time around, we learned a little bit about pursuit rules. So we figured out, when do officers, step on the gas and do like they do in the movies and chase people down type of thing. It's not near as often, and it's not as exciting as what you would think, unfortunately. We did watch a lot of body cam videos, which was interesting because we saw what officers do on a regular basis. We saw, examples of good examples. We saw some examples of, some tense situations and things like that. But it was good to see it. And it's all public record. People can see it, but it was interesting. And we got a little bit of a tease for some scenarios. So one of the classes, and I don't think it's this week's, I think it's next week's, there's some scenario role playing that they do. And so one of the things is, they're going to have, the quote unquote, the bad guy, and then the classmates are going to be the people that are the officers. And they're going to put us through a situation of, this is a situation an officer does based on what how would you react? And so it's going to be very real life. And from everything that I've heard from the previous two classes, these are the classes that make it the most of an impact because everybody kind of sees all sides of this. And then you have those conversations afterwards. So I'm looking forward to that one in a little bit. Also got some information for a women's defense class. They are ready to go full force again this year. COVID has delayed a lot of things, but this is something we got a kind of information about that. It's going to be April 4th, 6th, 11th, and 13th. It's going to be a 4-week class. Some of it is going to be kind of like, I don't want to call it lecture, but some of it is going to be kind of informational, but then you're actually going to get onto the mat and you're going to throw some people around apparently. So I think that's going to be kind of fun. That's from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. There'll also be another class in September, September 6th, 7th, 12th, and 14th. And I think they're looking for 8 to 15, give or take a little bit, 8 to 14 participants. Young girls are encouraged to apply as early as 12 and then moving forward because the officer basically mentioned she's doing this for her daughter, and to make sure that if anyone is ever in a position where they may be assaulted, that they have the means to to protect themselves and to get away from those particular situations. So hopefully everybody can enjoy participating in that. I will not be, but I'll get the briefing afterwards. So any questions? No. Okay. I do have some news on the Fema grant study for the Waterway status. Obviously, while the ice is melting and things like that, and rain's in the forecast over the couple of days, our thoughts always turn to, are we going to get more rain than just the average? So the grant is completely set. It's being reviewed now by the State of Ohio FEMA organization, and then it should be submitted within the next week to 10 days to the federal level for this study. So they're going to study all of the water entryways and everything else. And one thing that we are going to be paying attention to in this, specifically when it comes to Blacklick Creek, is dealing with the Intel project and making sure that while that is, further north of where we are, but we're going to make sure that everyone's paying attention to that. Is that going to have an impact on, the water flow in our community and things? But this grant is working forward to it, and hopefully when we get this grant, which I'm very confident we will, we'll get a lot of information about some short-term and long-term things to kind of solve some of these issues. So looking forward to that. We do have our community commission meetings tonight. We have our art, beautification, and welcoming and diversity. Art is going to be the first one. We're actually going to be partnering with the schools. I've got a meeting in about an hour with some of the art teachers in the district to talk about painting some of our signal boxes. So we have picked 8 signal boxes that are going to be, I think it's 8 for the school district, or is it 4? 4. All right, so 4 for the school district that are going to be in those areas, and then 4 the general community is going to have the opportunity. But we're going to turn it loose to the students of Reynoldsburg and their artistic skills to go ahead and get these things painted, and whether that's, we'll just see where the art goes. But something to kind of beautify our community a little bit, so I'm looking forward to that. Beautification is going to be talking about the Adopt a Road program that council had passed. We have it narrowed down to 21 wonderful roads, segments of roads in Reynoldsburg that we would love to have people sponsor to come in and pick up litter every couple of times, 5 times a year, and they get their signage and things like that. And then welcoming in our diversity group is actually going to be showing us some signs. We all see, everybody, we love our yard signs. We have those out there. But having some yard signs that actually show, how to welcome somebody, whether it's signs in different languages that say welcome, or things for informational purpose or something along those lines. So that way when you're at community events, school events, things like that, those can be out there. So everybody in Reynoldsburg realizes that we are truly a welcoming community. So if you're interested in those meetings will start at 7 o'clock tonight, live at City Hall. Pending technological issues, which, roll the dice, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. We plan on having that broadcast tonight as well, but you're always welcome to join in. I do want to update you a little bit on Bryce Park. I did talk about that at the State of the City last week, and there was some information that came out in council. Basically, we're going to be beginning our survey process as soon as council approves it to go in and actually see what that park is going to look like. This is going to be right across the street from where the existing library is. There's that stormwater retention area that's there, so that is actually going to be changed into an actual park. So you're going to have trails, park benches, gazebo, that type of thing. So when the weather's a little bit nicer and the library's finished, check out a book, walk across the street, and enjoy that part of it. So working hard on getting that together in partnership with the City of Columbus. We also have another event this weekend. So when you drop off your food at the food drive-in, you can go to the Historical Society, and then you have a brand new book authored by Mary Stutes and Cornelia M. Parkinson. And this is Reynoldsburg and Truro Township. It's one of those historical books of images of America, and it kind of gives us an idea all the way throughout the entire thing about what's gone on in Reynoldsburg and Truro Township. So you may have seen these in bookstores. It's going back through the entire history, so you can get an idea of what our community was like from way back when until what we have here. But like I said, it's going to be available. You can actually get these this weekend at the book signing event at the Historical Center, located off 1485 Jackson Street, right across the street from Hannah Ashton. And Mary Stutes and Cornelia Parkinson are going to be there signing them at their open house, so you can actually walk through and take a look at those books. So this was a special gift from Mary Stutes to me, so I do appreciate this having here. I do appreciate this, Mary, if you're watching. Thank you. I started reading it the other day, and it's always an entertaining thing to get a little brief history of everything. We have some fun Raider updates. Really good news. We have 2 female wrestlers that are going to be going to the state championship this weekend. We have Summer Batts in the district championship and district champion, and then Rowan Strotter, who's also going to be going, and they're both headed to the States this Saturday or Sunday. I don't think they've had a time where each one of them is. I just know that it's this weekend, so they're going to go that one of those 2 days. The team itself actually finished 7th out of 57 teams at the districts this past week. So congratulations to the 2 of them. Really rooting for you. I know we had their coach on earlier this year to try and drum up some support for the program, so we're happy to see that. We also have news. I don't know, you're familiar with the girls basketball team at all? Anything?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So they won their first round last night in a nail biter. I think they scored 7 points.
Yeah.
I think it was
80, 4-7.
Yeah.
Something.
So it was a good good warm up for them and the participation for it. But their next game is actually this Friday at 7 p.m. at Summit High School against Franklin Heights. So we're waiting to see how that works out. Again, I think they've got a great team. We know that it's. I enjoy watching the girls basketball team a little bit more so than the guys, and most just because of the skill set. These girls are phenomenal, and I want to have them all for our, anytime a city has ever has to have a basketball team, I think that's what we need. The boys have their last home game this Friday night versus Pick Central, and again, that's at home. So anytime that we're playing that team from across the way on 256, best of luck to the boys and go take it to them. So. We have our events, our rescheduled spaghetti dinner. A lot of things going on. I apologize. Spaghetti dinner was rescheduled because of Snowmageddon 2022. Now we're going to be doing this at March 26th at Messiah Church on Wagner Road. If you're interested in tickets, go ahead and contact Chuck Cochran at 614-580-7218. He'd be more than happy to set you up with some of those. This is done by the Community Association, and this is their big fundraiser so they can generate money for the 4th of July parade, the Halloween event, the International Festival that they're going to be doing this year as well, and then their Christmas on the Town. And it's also just really good spaghetti, so you can't go wrong there. So if you're interested, reach out to Chuck. You can get tickets at the door that day, but maybe there's some special reserved seating that Chuck can arrange all the way around for everybody. And because I did mention tomatoes, we do have some interesting news. The Tomato Festival planning is in full swing. We hope to be able to tell you our musical guest here soon, hopefully. But we also have some news about our tomato pageant. The tomato pageant is going to be here, and this is actually a big one. This is actually the 55th year of the Tomato Queen. So this will be, just when you're looking at numbers, it's not that 54 wasn't great, but when you hit 55, that's kind of, you get those benchmark years. If you're interested, the application window for this is going to start on April 1st, and it will go for a while. There's going to be 13 titles that are going to be awarded in 2022, including everything from Junior Prince all the way up, and it's a huge thing. Visit the Tomato Festival website for additional information, or if you have questions, you can contact our very own Michelle Brennan from our Parks and Rec Department, who's going to go ahead and run that up. So go ahead and check that out. It's a lot of fun. It's a great opportunity for young women to go out and participate and answer questions. They have an interview process and all these other different things, and hopefully we can kind of grow that program. And this year we're hoping if we can convince some of our males in the high school to have our first Tomato King this year. So we tried it last year. We didn't get a lot of interest, but I have a feeling this year I think we're going to have a Tomato King. So we'll see how that all works out. Our next fireside chat is next week. We have our special guest. It's not going to be who I was hoping for, but we got some great guests. Congresswoman Joyce Beatty was reserved for this spot, but apparently she's got to go do congressional work or something like that at the time that we have the show on. So she's not going to be able to join us. However, she is allowing her Chief of Staff, Todd Valentine, to come in and speak with us about things at the federal level, how that impacts, because I'm going to ask about schools because I'm going to, but how it impacts, the America Recovers Act and some of the infrastructure bills and things like that. So he will be there. We will also have State Representative LaTanya Humphrey, who will be joining us from the 26th Ohio House District, which is, again, just outside of Reynoldsburg, but pretty close enough to us that what happens in the Columbus side of things does impact the city of Reynoldsburg. So she's going to be joining us, and we're looking forward to both of them being on the show next week. Any last-second questions or comments or anything?
No.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope it wasn't too terrifying and horrible.
No, actually, I'm enjoying myself.
I told you it's never a bad thing. So appreciate everybody for watching. We'll see you next week. Remember to stay safe, stay very respectful, and as always, please put away your shopping carts, especially when you're, the shopping carts that are like 1.5 miles away from this place. Those are the ones. I mean, did you not want to take it to your house? Did you get halfway and just say that's enough? I'm not sure where that is. But make sure you put those shopping carts away. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you soon.